sketchyGoichie.
All right, ready to roll. sketchyGoichie again. This time, I'm gonna do something a little off the beaten path for me. Not really. I mean, I'm constantly drawing licensed characters, and this time I'm doing. If anyone's seen the movie It, the more recent edition, the Stephen King novel put to screen. Love the new version of Pennywise, the clown, the evil clown. Challenge here is to make that evil clown look kind of cute. And know who does a tremendous job at this is my buddy Chris. Chris Uminga, Uminga. Look him up. He's phenomenal at this. He does this. This is probably kind of an homage to his take on doing characters. But I love what he does, particularly when he renders when he does the texturing, and he gives him sort of like this really gritty quality. He also does a really great job of character design. I know he's done some figures for DC. He's tremendous. Done some artwork for I think down at Universal Studios as well. He's incredible. So that's my shout out to Chris, and he's probably my my spirit animal on this one. But yeah, I love that style, that sort of taking something that's inherently pure evil and giving it a kind of a cute quality. And so that's what I did here. If you notice, technique-wise, it's just, that sort of caption that big old egg head and then rendering the features in such a way that they're cute yet somewhat accurate to the brand. If you notice as well, I'm only rendering on one half of the body. The idea there is it's symmetrical drawing. He's looking right at camera, so a lot of the features can be duplicated, particularly with the hair and the eyes and so forth. I can definitely draw them once and duplicate them and then swap them over, because I am working in Procreate. I am working on the old iPad, and so use it to its maximum effect, and why wouldn't I? So yeah, I don't like doing that. Maybe I like shortcuts a little too much, but I mean, I'm just doing these for fun and just to share with you guys, and and they're not paintings, and they're not they're not if you see these in Guggenheim, it's something happened with the administrative people over there. They're clearly not keeping an eye on submissions. But anyways, so this guy is he has been duplicated, that half. I've connected it, and I'm preparing for the color stage. If you notice, those sort of red lines that run along his eye into his cheek towards his mouth, they're indicated there in the underdrawing, but I'm going to save that for the color stage, which I'm fastly approaching as we speak. Line work style for me is I like a clean line. Some render with a more etchy line. You see there's me adding a red. That red is indeed on its own layer, top of the black line. And then I've created a master layer underneath, whereas I sort of went in, created a new layer, grabbed the selection tool, and did a outline around the entire outer perimeter of the shape of Pennywise, and then filled it with that sort of really milky ivory color. I wanted it to kind of be kind of nasty color, kind of muted. And then I'm going to go back in and add all the highlights we need, so not to fear. This one actually was a quick one for me to render and color. The runtime of this video is probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 minutes, and it certainly didn't take me 10 minutes to draw this and color it, but it wasn't too far off of it, just because in Procreate there are a lot of obviously tricks that I can use to speed up the pace, just like what I did there is where I sort of drew the outline of the section I wanted the color, and then just filled it in rather than me kind of rendering it out. There are some cases, however, when I want to fill in large fields of color and actually just hand render it in, if you want to call it that, hand rendering, on the computer. But because I want sort of the irregularity of the brush stroke or the pen stroke. Now, as you can see, I moved over to his face. I wanted to isolate it from his costume, so I did this sort of lighter, cooler, bluish gray, knowing that I could go in afterwards and add the highlights on top of that. But I knew he was going to be in a dark environment, and essentially he's kind of this off-white. The character actually is off-white, but I knew he was going to be in a darkened room, so I deliberately made that choice to add some cool tones. I also knew the background was going to have a warmth to it as well. And so, good tip for all you artists, rendering in color. Again, no color expert, but rendering in color. Best way to get a nice play between foreground and background is cool versus warm. So just remember that whenever you're rendering, if you're learning how to render. And so, hey kids, cool versus warm. So cool in the foreground, warm in the background. Well, guess what? Make things pop. It'll push. Same thing goes with highlights as well, and shadowing. Your hotter versus your cooler will have. You should definitely play around with and see what effect works best for you. What I'm liking also, and this is probably a tip I got from some computer color friends of mine, my buddy Tom Chu is one, I believe, who does this. Look up Tom Chu. I'm sure he's got some great stuff online. He's been coloring for Marvel and DC for forever. He's phenomenal. We've collaborated on many pieces over the years. But one of his tricks is to fill in sort of the mid-tone when you put your flat layer in, and then apply your highlight on another layer on top of the mid-tone. So like the mid-tone is already there, and you can do a deeper shadow, and you kind of get to your end goal much quicker. Same thing goes for the this part of the costume, his sort of that ruffled neck piece, and on down to his the rest of his costume. Essentially that sort of muted, warm gray, I guess you could call it, allowed me to, all I really had to do was put the highlights in, because the shadow was there, and then a deeper shadow for where it was required. And that was it. For me, I like this graphic approach. If you do as well, you'll benefit from seeing how it's produced. It essentially is not more than 3 layers of color. Well, 4 if you include that under structured, that outline layer. Shouldn't say outline, that sort of filled in outline layer that's underneath everything. I use that to make selections off of. And each of the individual pieces here are ironically not on their own layer. Oftentimes I will, but the hair, the face, the body, the eyes are all on those little red pom-poms, I guess you can call them, on the center of his body. They're all on their own layer, and the red of his nose and those little markings are on its own layer. So there's really a total of like 5, maybe 6 layers on this, including the line art and the background layer, and that background sort of red that I'm applying onto him to kind of give him that sort of really dark, menacing background. And the beauty of doing that on its own layer is you'll notice I'll kind of diminish the opacity of it at some point, just to create some separation. And then I get the crazy idea to do add probably what would be, I guess, a 6th or 7th layer. I do an outer outline in sort of this kind of bluish tone, and I thought that really made it pop. Once I made that decision, there it goes. It really separated, again, cool to warm, separated that hair and pretty much the rest of him from that background. It's intended to be graphic. It's not realistic, that kind of almost rim light I don't think would happen in the real world unless you had some filtering going on and and all that in the photography, but in this case I thought that really harsh blue really allowed the character to pop off the background. And so, finishing touches on Pennywise from It, Stephen King's It. And hey guys, if you'd like to support me and my art in the building of this channel, go to Patreon. sketchyGoichie. Live your moment. Happy sketching, y'all. Peace.